A photography team for a unique photo shoot builds up an extremely deep pool and puts a sofa for the model to sit on. Day is operating at this photo shoot and has requested his girlfriend Koi to bring Lucky, their dog, so he might show up in the images as well. Given Day's diabetes, he needs to take a moment to receive his insulin shot. Koi keeps him company and pulls out a music box to joke about being pregnant, which gets on Day's nervousness. The session continues normally, and by doing all the skills Day has taught him with a whistle. The next day, Day and Lucky go back to the pool to clean and seal the spot because it won't be utilized for a time. Before working, Day relaxes on a floatie while throwing the ball for Lucky to catch. He doesn't see a newspaper on the ground notifying people about a crocodile lost in town. While seeking for his ball, Lucky hears a disturbing noise in the maintenance area and barks at it. The enjoyment is interrupted when the pool's owner pulls a lever to drain the pool and chains Lucky since he's scared the dog may fall in the pool. The man reminds Day to get to work and says goodbye as he'll be on vacation for the following 3 months. Before he leaves, Day asks him to order him a pizza. Thinking he has plenty of time before all the water is gone, Day continues to lounge on his floatie and unexpectedly falls asleep. When he awakens up, he realizes how low he's in this really deep pool and quickly panics. Since there are no steps, he swims to the closest wall and tries to climb out, but there's nothing to hang on to and he ends up injuring a nail instead. Then Day tries utilizing the floatie for support, but it's too slippery and he just falls. Next, Day clutches the belt of his robe and ties his glasses at its end to start flinging it over the edge of the pool. He manages to hit his cell phone, but it isn't strong enough to push it over. Day then begins begging for aid to no avail. At that moment, his phone starts buzzing and vibrating, which is slowly moving it toward the edge. Day waits to catch, but becomes sidetracked when a barking Lucky falls and ends up dangling over the edge by his leash. A desperate Day swims as quickly as possible and utilizes the floatie to push Lucky up, saving him immediately before the leash could suffocate him. This suggests he isn't there to catch the phone when it falls, however it's still attached to the charger, so it's now hanging against the pool wall. Day rushes back to it but can't quite reach it, thus he needs to jump. A whack of his hand accidentally disconnects it and the phone falls into the water. By the time Day goes in and recovers the device, the water has already broken it. Afterward, Day determines he needs to stop the water from draining deeper, so he dives in and plugs the drainage vent with his robe. In the process, his chain belt unintentionally gets stuck in the robe. While Day fights to extricate himself, the pizza delivery man arrives and doesn't see anyone around. He calls the pool owner, who orders him to leave the pizza and go. When Day eventually manages to sever the chain, he resurfaces and calls for help, but the delivery man is leaving on his bike and the engine noise doesn't allow him to hear anything. Since he has no other thing to do but wait for rescue, Day gets on his floatie to rest and falls asleep again. Moments later, Koi comes by and thinks Day is having fun, so she decides to join him. She gets on the platform and tries to jump, only to stumble and strike her head on her way down. Lucky's barking wakes Day up and he quickly swims to rescue his unconscious girlfriend. Day immediately takes back his robe to cover the wound and puts Koi on the floatie while crying for help to no avail. When darkness falls, the water level is so low that Day can stand on his feet. He checks Koi's injuries and anxiety because it's still bleeding. Suddenly a noise echoes nearby and Lucky starts barking like crazy. The lost crocodile has been hidden in the maintenance room and is now coming out. Day sees it and attempts to warn Lucky to keep silent, but the dog won't quit barking as the crocodile starts creeping at him. However, it ends up slipping and crashing into the pool too. A horrified Day stares underwater and tries to keep an eye on the beast. When he feels it floating close his legs, Day steps on top of the sofa to acquire some height. Then he yells at Lucky, accusing him for attracting the crocodile to the pool. In the morning, the pool had no more water left. The crocodile is asleep and Koi is still unconscious. Day detects something in her pocket and is astonished to find a positive pregnancy test. The news is hard to swallow, yet he still tells Koi that everything will be alright. Then he checks her wound and sees that it's still bleeding. He looks about for something that could aid and realizes there's a tape roll trapped in the crocodile's mouth. Moving very gently, Day approaches the animal and Lucky barks at him as a warning. Thankfully, the crocodile doesn't wake up and Day urges Lucky to shut up before trying again. As Day reaches inside the mouth and grabs the tape, the crocodile wakes up and tries to bite him, but Day leaps out of the way just in time. Then he hurries back to Koi and tapes a piece of his robe to her wound to halt the bleeding. Thanks to a bucket that was at the bottom of the pool, Day has some water and drops a bit in Koi's mouth every few hours. When the wild is distracted, Day tries to open the drainage vent, yet no matter how much strength he uses, the lid won't budge. He goes back to Koi and realizes that her necklace is a razor, so he takes it. When Day turns around, the crocodile is laying on top of the vent. He starts waving the tape as a whip to hit the animal's head from away, and at first the crocodile isn't worried, but it finally walks away when when Day smashes its eye. Now he may use the razor as a screwdriver to pull out all the screws and remove the lid at last. Taking a look inside, the hole reveals some tunnels and Day worries if he'll fit in them. Then he goes to check on Koi, and the crocodile utilizes the chance to hide in the tunnels. Day notices this and sits adjacent to the vent to wait for the crocodile to come back, but nothing occurs. Sometime later, Day revisits his earlier ideas. He yells for aid, tries to climb up, and tries to turn on the phone, but nothing works. His injured nail is getting worse, so Day painfully pulls out the broken bit with teeth before covering the finger with tape. The next time he checks on Koi, she's blazing with fever, so he decides to take the chance and climbs into the tube. As Day wanders about, he can hear the crocodile close, but it doesn't seem to be approaching. At the end of a tunnel, he finds another lid, which he lifts to enter a little location with steps. He instantly climbs up to locate second lid covering the exit, which is locked from the outside. Day starts crying for help and is interrupted by Lucky barking. He looks, rises, and sees in a mirror that the crocodile has returned to the water to go after Koi. Right as the beast gets between Koi's legs, Day comes back and grabs it by the tail to fling it against the wall. Then he picks up a stick and acts as a shield for his girlfriend till the crocodile walks away. At the same moment, Koi wakes up and Day helps her sit up while telling her what transpired, including that he knows about the pregnancy. He thinks about a chat he had with a friend during which he explained that if Koi got pregnant, he would ask her to terminate it because they couldn't afford a baby. His friend had warned him that termination was illegal and a sin. In the present, he hugs Koi but doesn't say anything. At nighttime, the wind pushes a cup with some string over the edge of the pool and Day swiftly catches it. Koi is presently relaxing on the sofa from the photo shoot. He grabs the other end of the string, which has a second cup. They use it to speak like kids do, and Koi reminds him not to quit up because he must defend his family. She also says she's hungry and Day wonders if their dog is as hungry as them. At that point, Lucky makes a noise and Day looks up to realize his pet is eating the pizza. It takes some yelling, but ultimately Lucky throws the box with the rest of the pizza into the water. There isn't much left and Day wants Koi to have it all, but Koi says the baby wants their dad to eat too. Another reminiscence reveals how Koi used to whine about Day working so much that he didn't even have time to take her out for pizza. Now she can't help crying because they're finally having pizza together. In the morning, Day is awakened up by Lucky throwing a pipe into the pool. There isn't any water left in the bucket and the heat is awful. After peeing in a corner, Day uses the tape to write help on the ground. However, he's growing dizzier and dizzier by the second and ends up passing out. He dreams about his favorite times with Koi, but it eventually turns into a nightmare when he sees himself stranded in water. In the evening, Koi wakes him up and together they lower the sofa down so they can sit while having a shield on their backs. Koi reveals the crocodile is feminine because she observed the animal lay eggs in the afternoon. Then it starts raining, so the couple can gather some water in the bucket again. On day 4, Day stares at the crocodile for a while before passing out again. When the animal tries to get closer, she steps on Day's robe. He falls down the tube because this was a trap all along. Day ceases pretending to be sleeping and runs to push the crocodile farther in until her complete body is gone. Next, he puts the lid back on the hole and the pair sets the couch on top of it, sitting on it to provide extra weight. Afterward, they blend the stick in sunlight through Day's glasses to generate a fire that permits them to cook the crocodile's eggs. Day wants Koi to have it all again, but she insists on sharing. That night, they put the sofa up against the wall and get on top of it, with Day also acting as a base for Koi. She almost reaches the edge of the pool and Day stands on his tiptoes to pull her higher, but it's still not enough, so they come down. Determined to safeguard his girlfriend, Day thinks of a fresh plan. He'll let the crocodile return to the pool so that they can hide in the tunnels and keep the infant safe. Koi takes the music box out of her pocket. She notices the baby figurine is gone, so she wonders whether Day tossed it away. He says it fell, but he actually did check it. This makes Koi question if Day urged her to terminate the pregnancy, and when he confirms it, she had a breakdown. Day tries to soothe her, but Koi hits him and throws him away while calling him cruel. He tries to explain he's suffering in life and not apt to be a father, although Koi points out all the things he's done for their survive in the pool, proving he can do anything. In the morning, the couple takes the sofa away from the vent and the crocodile instantly comes out. While Day helps Koi go into the tunnel, the crocodile looks for her eggs but only finds the shells, so she quickly comes after Day. He hurries to grab the dropped music box before sliding on the floor to swiftly reach the vent. Then he jumps inside and closes the lid right before the crocodile can reach him. That night, Day starts feeling terribly unwell and Koi realizes he hasn't taken his immunizations in days. Day remembers he put a syringe beside the pool, so he lifts the exit lid enough to push his robe with some wire. He manages to slide the syringe on top of the robe, but as he attempts to draw it toward the vent, the syringe falls and breaks. In the morning, Day keeps fantasizing about a life with Koi and their child. He accidentally drops the music box under a barrel, and when he approaches it to get it, he's astonished to locate his insulin case. It turns out his boss accidentally dropped it as he departed. Day quickly injects himself and feels better. Sometime later they observe a parachute fluttering in the sky, and Day rushes up the stairs to shout for help, but he isn't heard. On his way down, he doesn't notice the necklace with his whistle getting trapped on a pipe. Then he runs back into the pool only to discover the parachute is just a child's toy. He starts yelling for help again, but it's worthless. At that moment, a powerful wind starts blowing and sends some barbed wire with clothing flying. The wire gets trapped on a pipe and most of it lands on the edge of the pool. Day decides to try to climb it, severely injuring his hands in the process. His weight affects the wire to start falling off the pipe, but Day still keeps going. When he's ready to approach the edge, the wire eventually comes off and Day falls. The bad landing breaks one of his legs before he passes out. On day 6, Day wakes up in tremendous discomfort. Using some sticks and tape, he builds a splint around the broken leg and passes out again. When he wakes up, he checks at his injuries and finds the crocodile eating his leg. Day kicks her off and beats her head with the bucket till she walks away. That night it starts raining and the space where Koi is hiding begins filling with water. She beats on the barrel to ask for aid, but when Day tries to reach the vent, the crocodile comes after him again. Thinking fast, Day throws the sofa on the crocodile to trap her and jumps into the tunnel, making sure to close the cover before creeping away. The entrance to Koi's room is blocked, thus Day decides to start hunting for other exits. After researching for a time, Day is excited to find another lid and light coming through it. He instantly keeps pressing till he manages to open it, only to be disappointed by what he finds outside. It seems out this facility has 2 pools and the vents connect them. Day cries in frustration as he had a breakdown. When he settles down, he returns to the tunnel but barely gets to move before passing out. One day 7, the parachute toy falls in the pool and 2 people come looking for it. They tie a ladder to a barrel and hang it on the edge of the pool to come down. While grasping the toy, they notice the tape message and the blood. However, because of the sofa, they assume it's all part of a production. They don't notice anyone because the pair is in the tunnels and the crocodile is under the sofa. Day wakes up when he hears their voices, but by the time he approaches the pool, the men are already gone. At least they left the ladder, but when Day tries moving, the crocodile comes out to obstruct his way. Since it's raining again, the water level in Koi's room is rising swiftly, but she can't leave since the barrel is caught in the vent. Day takes off his shirt and ties it around his hand before doing the same with some barbed wire. When he steps back, he stumbles on the bucket and falls, allowing the crocodile to grab his leg again. He kicks her several times to shove her off, then he sits on top of her and starts punching her with the electrical hand. The crocodile responds by slapping him with her tail to throw him down and moves on top of him to continue the struggle. When Day looked up, he sees Koi about to die in the mirror, which encourages him to keep going. He reaches behind him and breaks the sofa's leg, which he uses to stab the crocodile in the eye. Unfortunately, the rain causes the barrels to slip off the pile and take the ladder with them. When Day sees this, he goes to his knees, believing it's over. Suddenly, the crocodile slaps him in the back before biting his stomach, leaving serious wounds. When she's about to bite his head too, Koi discovers the whistle and blasts it. Day breaks out of his daze and inserts the stick in the crocodile's mouth to obstruct it. Koi is still blowing the whistle and Lucky starts barking, so Day attempts to warn him to stay back. Lucky doesn't listen and attempts jumping into the pool, but the chain snaps his neck and now his body is dangling over the edge. A angry Day then picks up the pipe Lucky threw earlier and inserts it into the crocodile's mouth, pushing until he stabs her brain to eventually murder her. Desperate to save Koi, Day has no other alternative except to use Lucky's body to climb out of the pool. When he reaches the head, he says farewell and lets the body fall so he can continue ascending with just the chain. Then he rushes to the other vent and tries using a pipe to open it. The strength he puts on this lever-like action causes the pipe to bend and leave him dangling over the other pool. However, Day rejects to give up and keeps exerting strength until he opens the lid. The pipe snaps in the process and Day falls, yet he clings onto the edge of the pool just in time. Day pushes through his leg pain to climb out of the pool and goes to jump into the tunnel water. He finds an unconscious Koi and drags her out to immediately start giving CPR. At first there's no reply and Day cries as he hugs her, thinking she's gone. Fortunately, his grieving yells wake her up and they reconnect with a hug. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.